to introduce you. All right, perfect. So welcome everybody. Today is Thursday, November the 3rd, and nothing stays the same in November is our theme this month. In accordance with that, your knowledge, your power will not stay the same as long as you hang out with me. That's why we will introduce you to multiple business partners, multiple people, multiple organizations that will help you to enhance and grow your business. Today, we are set up for our Maryland Realtors. Our Maryland Realtors, we are all, believe it or not, in a partnership with the Department of Housing and Community Development. You probably didn't know that. If you sold a house and the client, the buyer, has used the Maryland Mortgage Program, or the seller, you sold a house, you were the listing agent, and the buyer used the Maryland Mortgage Program, you somewhat got involved with the Department of Housing and Community Development. They are the organization that provides us with the Maryland Mortgage Program. We are honored today to have Catherine Kramer Dale.
Thank you.
As our business development representative, giving us all types of information today. She's going to help us to navigate the website, learn more about the Maryland Mortgage Program and its programs. It's different levels of program, different programs. And I'm going to just quickly glance over her bio, which I have in my hand. So I'm going to read just a little bit because I want everybody to know who you are, Catherine, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Catherine serves as the subject matter expert for the Maryland Mortgage Program. There are various products providing guidance and industry context, as well as underwriting expertise for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional loans. She identifies knowledge gaps and areas of interest for lender and realtor partners and works on the development and implementation of conducting training sessions, much like what you're on today, and other presentations for lenders, realtors, nonprofit organizations, and even our clients, even Maryland home buyers. So Catherine is very versed in all of the Maryland Mortgage Program, and she's going to help us to build our knowledge and build our use so that we can grow our business, we can help more clients, we can work with more buyers. So Catherine, I'm going straight on the mute and I'm turning this call right over to you. You have co-hosting capabilities. You can share your screen. I will control the mute. I'll watch the chat for you. If there's anything, I'll raise my hand or use the reactions button to get your attention. So thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you taking your time out. This call, even though I'm at eXp Realty, this call is open to all agents. I pride myself in providing education to any real estate agent, any brand. It doesn't matter where you are, who you're affiliated with. I'm always going to provide some type of education. That is my platform that I stand on as the GBBR president. That was the platform I stood on when I was a broker of a brokerage in Baltimore, and I will never leave an agent behind. So you are welcome to partner up with me for any type of education session at any time, any day. Just give me a call. I'm always ready for more education and providing more education to realtors in our state and beyond. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for the awesome presentation. Before we started this, I dove right into it and thought, whoa, okay, this is great. I love motivational speaking because we really all don't know what our potential is. So thanks for sharing that. And Nakia, thank you so much for having me. I also want to point out that we also have another Maryland Mortgage Program representative on the call. Her name is Latoya Harris. I don't know if Latoya is able to show her screen, but I'd love for you guys to see her face. She's going to be amazing. She started with our agency, I think it's been maybe a month now, Latoya. Okay. And you know, when you work for the state, you got to go through all the formalities of making sure that you're ready to go out and do presentations. But hands down, she's got it. She's going to be ready. I would imagine probably December, if not by the first of the year. I'm not sure when her manager is going to let her go, but we are excited to have her hit the streets and run with all of us. And she's going to be fantastic. So she's just listening in just to kind of pick up some pointers as well, because we all do learn from each other. There's always little bits and pieces that we can take away. I do have a PowerPoint that I shared with Nakia that she could certainly share with you guys, but I don't necessarily want to sit and read line by line, flip the page to a PowerPoint. You guys know how to read. You guys know, obviously, how to figure out how to flip pages. So I want to make sure that I'm taking you into the website. I'm going to somewhat follow the flow of the PowerPoint, but I'm going to show you how to get into this website, how to utilize it as an agent so that you can, have the best opportunity to use every resource we have. I've been in the mortgage industry since 1985. I kind of laugh and say, thank God for hair color. I started with the state of Maryland about 14 years ago. And the position that I'm in is a business development, as Nakia said. And this position is to do trainings, promote, educate, share the knowledge on all of the amazing programs. Now, gosh, in 2010, we had one product. And for those of you that have been in the industry, you're probably familiar with that. It was the good old $5,000 that you got for down payment and closing cost assistance. And we only had 34 lenders that were approved to do the Maryland Mortgage Program. Well, how I got this position was they said, we need this to grow. We need to make sure that there's more opportunity to provide the affordable housing, to provide options for borrowers to achieve the American dream of owning a home. So here's my position. I was asked to do this job to go out, educate lenders, agents, housing counseling agencies. I do home buyer workshops occasionally, anything that we can do to help anybody learn about the products that the state agency offers. I work for the state of Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Some of you will refer to us as CDA. The department that I'm in is the CDA, Community Development Administration. And the products that I'm talking to you about today are called the Maryland Mortgage Program products. When you're on our website, I refer to this as like a maroon color, and these are all the row homes. You're going to come over to where the toolbar is, and you're going to scroll all the way to the right where it says Professional Portal. We're all professionals. We've created a portal for you. You're going to scroll down and you're going to see a yellow box. You'll see this throughout the presentation or in different places of the website when you come back to visit it. This is a box that I would highly recommend everyone sign up for. And believe it or not, your clients, borrowers, are able to get on this website and they're signing up for this stuff too. It really is a tool that the lenders truly, truly have to sign up for. But I always stress it with home buyers as well as even with agents, because it's where we can provide you knowledge about what we're doing, how we're moving and shaking, right? This yellow box, when you click on sign up for the email subscription, you're signing up for a monthly newsletter. This tells us all about what we're doing, what's going on, what are new initiatives we're launching, what are our thoughts, how we're trying to keep up with this challenging, changing market. It will also tell you that once a month, myself and another coworker of mine, his name is Frank Bamunde, we do a general training. Anybody can click on this partner news bulletin, click on the link and register for it. It's free. And it's only for an hour, but it gives you you put your big toe in there and get an idea of what's going on with the Maryland Mortgage Program. Or if you've done the Maryland Mortgage Program before, it may be an opportunity where you walk away with an aha moment, because again, we've created new programs and we constantly are. So you never walk away with not learning anything. So that's once a month. There's a separate training for sales. And then there's a separate training for closing and post-closing. So they're usually the third Tuesday of the month and the third Thursday of the month. When you also sign up for this email subscription box, you can sign up and click on the button that says for directives. These directives and notifications are definitely more geared toward the lenders that are utilizing and submitting the programs, but anybody can sign up for them. And even before the pandemic, I'm basically a field rep. I'm very rarely in the office. And the directives and notifications were a huge tool for me, because if we launched a new product, a directive gets sent out to anybody who signed up for it. It tells you the date that the product starts, what the benefits are of this new program, gives you a little more information about the product. The directives and notifications will tell you when programs have ended. Because, yeah, we do have some special products. They're called our specialty programs that might be funded by us, but also by other entities, whether it be city or county money. And some of those do run out. So you'll get a directive telling you that a product that you see on our rate sheet is ready to run out of money. None of our other products run out of money, but some of our specialty programs do. And I'll go over those with you. The daily rate sheets, I think this is winner, winner, chicken dinner. I mean, again, the market right now is extremely, extremely challenging. It's like you're on a roller coaster. One day you're up, next day you're down. I mean, it's constant. So if you sign up for this yellow box, you can also receive the rate sheets. I think it's like a cheat sheet. It shows you what the products are that we're offering, shows you how our rates are performing, and it breaks down whether it's Fannie or Freddie conventional. And our government rate is FHA, VA, and USDA. And yep, we do a lot of VA and USDA loans. Shows you on the rate sheet, of course, what products we're offering. So if it's not on the rate sheet, we're not offering it. So don't ever not sign up for this yellow box. When you pass the yellow box, you'll see a man with a pair of glasses, and it says program information. When you click on his picture, this is going to give you the access to like our brain. It's the window to our brain. It's going to give you the rate sheets. It's going to give you the loan documentation. That's something the lenders use when they're submitting your client's packet to us. It gives you also the directives and notifications. It gives you the links for home buyer education, etc. I mean, it's fact sheets, everything. It's kind of the window to our brain, like I said. So let's click on his picture. And when you click on it, here's the program information. And see all these little black dots? These all are connected to a link. I'm not going to go over all of them with you. And again, the Maryland Mortgage Program is the Maryland Mortgage Program. When I'm doing a presentation to a borrower, I give them a little bit of information, and I definitely support their having a strong relationship with you as the agent. And then when I'm doing a presentation to agents, I stress the fact that it's very important that you have a very strong relationship with one of our approved Maryland Mortgage Program lenders. Why? For those of you that have never done this, if you have a borrower after this training, you say, Catherine, you know what? I think I have a borrower that would be a perfect fit for this. What do I do next? Well, if you don't have a relationship with a lender that is approved to do the Maryland Mortgage Program, you need to. A borrower doesn't apply directly with us. You don't apply directly with us. The borrowers actually have to apply with one of our approved lenders. And the lenders are going to ask for all the normal documentation, pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, verification of employments, pull their credit, everything. They are reviewing your client's file to determine that they're meeting FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional guidelines. They got to make sure they're meeting Fannie and Freddie Mac guidelines. But if you have a borrower that you have discussed with the lender and think that this product or one of our programs that we're going to go over in a minute is going to be a huge benefit to your client, the lender also has to think of what are the guidelines in order to be eligible for one of our Maryland mortgage programs. And I'll briefly go over that with you, but that's why it's important that you have a strong relationship with a lender who feels very comfortable doing the Maryland Mortgage Program, because there are 6 eligibility guidelines that they need to make sure that their client meets in order to apply for the Maryland Mortgage Program and get down payment assistance. And the lenders then submit a loan file to us to make sure we can check off each one of those 6 guidelines to make sure the borrower meets our guidelines. So you've got your one loan file for the lender for FHA, VA, USDA conventional guidelines, Fannie and Freddie. And then if you're doing a Maryland Mortgage Program, yes, that lender is creating a Maryland Mortgage Program loan file that they do have to submit to us. so that we can review to make sure that they're meeting our guidelines. When a lender submits a file to us, it takes us 24 to 48 hours for us to review that file. It's quick. Our turnaround time is very quick. The reason why it's quick, not only because we're amazing, but because we're not underwriting. We are not re-underwriting. We're not reprocessing that loan file. The lender did that. That's their responsibility to make sure that they've met FHA, VA, USDA conventional guidelines, Fannie and Freddie. When they send a file to us, the reason why it only takes us 24 to 48 hours to review it is because we're just reviewing to make sure, did you meet our 6 guidelines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Did you submit the appropriate paperwork in a Maryland Mortgage Program loan file for the first mortgage? And did you also submit a file for the second mortgage, which is the down payment assistance? And we really are reviewing for compliance, making sure the borrower met the guidelines, making sure they filled out the right paperwork, dotted the I's and crossed the T's. It only takes us 24 to 48 hours for us to review a file. The lender gets an email letting them know that the file has been reviewed and decisioned. If it's approved, woohoo, you guys go to closing. Everything's great. We do not wire any money to the closing table. No one is waiting for the state of Maryland Department of Housing, the Maryland Mortgage Program, to send any money over. This money is coming from the lender. The lender is wiring all the funds that come directly from them for the first mortgage and even for any of the down payment assistance. So you're not waiting or being held up for funds to arrive at closing. Once the loan closes, then the lender has to send us back a post-close review file so we can check and make sure that everything was executed correctly at closing. Because we have a deed and a note for our second mortgage, even though it's a silent, and I'll go over that with you. And then once we sign off on the post-close, we're done. Yay, we're good. The lender sells that loan to the final investor, which is US Bank. Once US Bank purchases the loan, then that's how the lender gets reimbursed for all the money that they fronted for the first mortgage. And then we get notified to also return or refund them money for the second. It only takes us 24 to 48 hours to review a file. Now, if a loan file is submitted to us and we have a question about the income or the assets or the home buyer education or the DTI or the credit score or any of the forms, any of the guidelines, if we have a question about any of them, we will incomplete the file. We will notify that lender by email that we've completed the review. When they go in to see what the status is, instead of it saying it's approved, it's going to say it's incomplete. And we're going to tell them line by line, hopefully there's not many lines, but what the conditions are, what our questions are, what needs to be addressed, what needs to be fixed, because we have to make sure that it is meeting our eligibility guidelines. And again, from a compliance standpoint, that everything dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Once the lender submits the conditions to us for us to review and correct everything, that takes another 24 to 48 hours. So you want to make sure that you guys are working together as a team to set reasonable expectations for a closing date. Because I always feel really bad, because ultimately I know the buyer's agent or the seller's agent and the loan officer and everybody's upset because the loan's not going to close on the date that everyone was promised. But ultimately, who does it really hurt? The clients. So we want to make sure that everyone's setting reasonable expectations for a closing date. You know, don't overpromise and underdeliver. So if you had a lender that submitted a loan to us on a Monday, if they're doing the Maryland Mortgage Program all the time and they're really comfortable with it, you probably could feel very comfortable to set a closing date for that Friday. But if you're talking to a lender who is not comfortable and doesn't use this product on a regular, then I probably would schedule it for the following Monday. Because like I said, if you submit a file to us on Monday, we have 24 to 48 hours to review it. If it's approved, woohoo, great. You could close earlier. You look like a hero. But if the file is incomplete and you have conditions, by the time you get those conditions corrected and resubmit them to us, we have another 24 to 48 hours to review. You could easily do a Maryland Mortgage Program loan with us in 45 days. You could do a 45-day contract. Some lenders, I'll show you the lender list when we start going through the whole compliance area, but some lenders, if you're dealing with one of our gold or silver lenders or a lender that uses this product on a regular basis, you might very well be able to close a loan and do it in 30 days. We don't ask for a lot of information when they submit a file. We're only checking to make sure you've met our 6 guidelines. All right, so I wanted to give you an overview of how the flow of the file worked and what the expectations are for turnaround time. Now I'm going to go in here and show you how to cruise the website. Let me just check the chat box for a second. All right, cool. Okay, I'm going to actually type my email address in here. And at any time after this presentation, if anyone has any questions, they are always more than willing to email me. Give me a good phone number, and I promise I'm old school. I'll call you back. We generally do trainings every day from either 10 to 12, and sometimes I'll even do trainings from 1 to 3. So sometimes my day is full with trainings, but I promise if you email me and give me a good phone number, I will call you back. All right. So here is the program information section, all these little dots. So if you were to call me and we were talking, I'd say, okay, get here. Let's look at all the dots. The first thing I want to show you is the CDA/USB contacts. Since I kind of gave you the flow of the file and introduced to you who we are, State of Maryland Department of Housing, the Maryland Mortgage Program, also known in the Department of CDA, Community Development Administration, and that once the loan is sold, it gets sold to the final investor, which is US Bank. I don't know why it's taking so long to pull up. This is our contact sheet. I'll make it a little bigger. For you as agents, I would strongly recommend that you have a very good relationship with the loan officer that you're working with at an approved Maryland Mortgage Program lender. But there is a email box. It's singlefamilyhousing.dhcd@maryland.gov. You can email this single family email box anytime. My manager actually oversees this email box. Her name is Cecilia Weller. She's amazing. She will respond, or she will then forward you either to maybe Latoya or myself or Frank if you guys have requested a training, or she may then even refer you to some of the subject matter experts. But as an agent, I'll tell you that she's probably going to answer whatever questions that you have in pertaining to your role in the transaction. If a file comes into us and you have questions about what's the status, what are the conditions, what's going on with the file, I hate to say this, but you are going to get referred to go back to the lender that you're working with. We're not able to discuss any of the details of a loan transaction. Sounds crazy, but with the borrower or even with you as an agent, our contract is definitely directly with the lender. And if there's conditions or there's any concerns or any questions about the file, we would be discussing it directly with that loan officer, their processor, or underwriter. But this single family link is great if you have any general program questions or compliance questions, or you'd like to request training, we would be delighted. The other names on here are more for the lenders. We have an amazing supervisor of underwriting. We have a gentleman who, unfortunately, if your loan file gets incomplete and you have conditions, this gentleman here also reviews he has an amazing staff of processors that review all the conditions. And then we have our loan operations manager, assistant director, who oversees everything. So if you ever have any questions, again, I would be referring you directly to single family, and you would definitely probably end up being referred to talk to your lender. I'm going to hit the back arrow. And now I'm back to all the black dots. Now I'm going to go to the interest rates. This is the exciting part here. And I know there's there's quite a few people on here now. So sorry, it's taking a little time to come up. All right, so here we go. This is our rate sheet. If you signed up for that yellow box, you will get this rate sheet generated to you every day. And I think it's great. It's like a cheat sheet. It comes out every day at 10 a.m. And you'll notice that there's a left-hand side to the rate sheet and there's a right-hand side to the rate sheet. Now, normally, all these products that you see on the left-hand side are also found on the right-hand side. But the rates started going up. And the right-hand side of this rate sheet is called our flex products. It is designed for a borrower who is not a first-time home buyer. Yep, I said it. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've come a long way. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer to use the Maryland Mortgage Program. You don't. Now, you can't own anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. I don't care what product you do on my rate sheet. You cannot own a property or have any interest in a property anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. But you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. If you do a Maryland Mortgage Program loan, this property has to be your primary residence. All of our products are fixed 30. They're 97% loan to value, LTV, fixed 30. So if you buy a house and you use the Maryland Mortgage Program, you can't be on a deed anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. You can be a first-time home buyer, but you don't have to be. And this property always has to be your primary residence, not just for a year, not for 5 years, not for 10 years. If you have a loan with us and you have a lien with us, it has to be your primary residence. You cannot rent it out. All right. If a borrower ever comes to you and says, you know, that townhouse that you helped me get into, I'm ready to move up and I'd like to buy a single family. Okay, perfect. Hey, I want to keep the townhouse that we did the Maryland Mortgage Program loan with. The only way you could keep this townhouse and use it as a rental is if you paid off any liens that are associated with it. All right. The flex products are providing flexibility. It's where the borrower could be a repeat buyer. They don't have to be a first-time home buyer. The products right now, there's only 3 products that are on our standard side. And you'll notice that the rates are a little bit higher on the right-hand side compared to the left. That's why there's not these additional products on the right-hand side, because normally the left side looks just like the right side, but the rates are higher on the right. Well, when the rates started going up, our pricing division said, no, we're going to have to get rid of some of these products that we had over here. And we had some amazing products. We had some grants. We don't have them anymore. None of our products are grants. None of that money is free. You always got to pay us back. But we got rid of the products over here on the right-hand side because, my God, look, we'd be coming up to like 80% on products. Hopefully, maybe after the election, maybe when the market turns around, who knows, the rates go down, then maybe we will see the same products that are available on the left-hand side for a first-time home buyer be available on the right-hand side. I'm going to talk about the products in a moment. On the right-hand side, again, you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. I could own a home right now as long as I sell my home. If I don't meet the first-time home buyer guideline, then I can still do the product, but I can only stay on the right-hand side, and it's called the MMP Flex, and there's only 3 products that are currently available. I'm going to go over them with you in a moment. On the left-hand side, this is where everybody wants to be now, because look, it offers all these programs, right? Well, on the left-hand side, these are called our first-time advantage. You have to meet our first-time home buyer guideline. The products are the same on the left as they are on the right. But again, there's some that aren't on the right. And the product rates are lower on the left because I'll be honest, there's a little more paperwork. There's paperwork that the borrower has to sign and the lender has to certify that the borrower is in fact meeting our first time home buyer guideline. So the rates are lower, but there's like a buyer's affidavit, a seller's affidavit, a notice to a borrower. On the right-hand side, they're flexible, but the rates are a little bit higher, but they're really easy files to do. Not that I'm promoting to always stay on the flex, but they're very simplified files. We don't ask for the buyer's affidavit, the seller's affidavit, the notice to a borrower. It's a skinny file, okay? Well, everybody says, Catherine, well, what are the guidelines? Well, again, I know I'm talking to agents, so I don't want to go dive too deep into what the guidelines are. But you know what? I love to be empowered with a knowledge. So I'm going to briefly go over them with you. But again, you always want to make sure that you're referring to your lender as the subject matter expert to help you determine if a borrower meets our guidelines. Let me check the chat box. Yes, so yes, you can get the rates emailed to you daily. If you jumped on a little later, there's a yellow box. I'll show it to you in a few minutes as well. You click on the yellow box and you can sign up to receive the rate sheets, the fact sheets, the directives, all that stuff. All right. All right. So how do you determine if you are meeting our 6 eligibility guidelines? Because everybody wants to know, well, how do I know if a borrower is eligible? Again, I'm going to say it over and over again, refer to the lender to make sure that the borrower meets the guidelines, but I'll give you a little snippet. In order to be considered a first-time home buyer, you have to meet one of the following. A, never owned a home anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. B, hadn't been on a deed or had any interest in any property anywhere in the world at the time of this closing in the last 3 years. So if you had a borrower that was married before or owned a home before, and they sold their house and they've been renting for the last 3 years, woo, they're a first-time home buyer. All right. C, if you are a veteran using your VA entitlement with us for the first time, you are considered a first-time home buyer. Okay. So you could have owned a home somewhere else, sold your home, and decided to save your VA entitlement to come back home to Maryland. And if you're using your VA entitlement with us for the first time, you're considered a first-time home buyer. This is our first-time home buyer definition. All right. It's not the VA definition. It's our definition. The last one is D. If you're not A, B, or C, and you have a borrower and they're like, okay, I'm not a first-time home buyer. I even own a home right now. I live in Baltimore County. I own a home. And let's say I come to Nakia and I say, I want to move, to Annapolis, or I want to move to Deep Creek. And it's going to be my primary residence. I just want to get out of Baltimore. Nakia would say, okay, Catherine, let's see if you qualify as a first-time home buyer. If I'm not A, B, or C, the last opportunity is I'd have to sell my current home. But if I'm purchasing a property that shows up on this mapper, we have a Maryland Mortgage Program mapper, the lender will assist you with this. But you give them the property address, they pull it up, and if they, sorry, give me 1 second, Nakia, they pull it up, and if the property shows up that it's in a targeted area, then you can be considered a first-time home buyer. Yes, Nakia?
There was a question in the chat. Keely Rich wants to know, how does the spouse affect that?
Okay, so spouse, no house. Theoretically, if you have somebody on a loan or on a deed, they have to be off of it. So if you have somebody that's on the loan or on the title, or they're a spouse, they can't own any property. And think of it this way. The reason why we say that is because this property has to be your primary residence. So if you're married, we're going to ask, okay, well, if the spouse owns a house, how do we know that you're not going to end up living in that house and you're using this program to turn around and get down payment assistance, and you then use it as an investment property. So not only does the borrower, but any co-borrowers or anyone living in the home, especially a spouse, they can't own a property anywhere else in the world at the time of this closing. So think of it, spouse, no house. Does that help? Yes.
I was the person that asked the question, so I'll say yes, that helps. I just recall being in situations where somebody was all excited and they clearly met the criteria,
Right.
and then the husband came into play, and because they had owned and it was less than 3 years, they couldn't do the program. So thank you.
Oh. Well, okay, but also too, and I will show you a snippet of it. I'll hit the back arrow and I'll hit it again, and I'll get all these little black dots. The lender will assist you with this. But if you have a borrower and you're like, listen, I don't think my borrower is a first-time home buyer. You know, they don't meet A, B, or C. Can we check and make sure that the property that they're interested in buying is in a targeted area? I verified that nobody owns anything anywhere in the world at the time of this closing, but can we check to see if the property that they're purchasing is in a targeted area? The lender would come into the Maryland Mortgage Program mapper. They would come here to get started with the mapper. And by all means, you guys can do this. This is a public website. Anybody can come on here. But this is a tool that generally the lender uses. When you're on here, let's see, hopefully I'll take a brief moment to pull up. We share this mapper with the State of Maryland Department of Planning, as well as with our agency. So when I put a property address in, I'm going to put two different ones in so you can see the difference. There will be some things that show up that we really don't have any concern about. So I'll show you. If I put in 200 St. Paul Street, and you'll notice I don't even have to keep typing because it kind of auto-populated. This is the address I wanted. It'll show you a variety of addresses that fit that. This happens to be a property address that's in Baltimore City. Well, I'll just kind of give you a hint. If you're talking to a borrower and they're purchasing a property in Baltimore City, all of Baltimore City is targeted. So you'll always be dealing with a first-time home buyer. But again, nobody can be on a deed or have any interest in any property anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. Don't pay attention to the right-hand side of the map. It's beautiful, it's colors, there's a pin, everybody asks. But underneath the address, you're simply looking to see if your borrower is in any way, shape, or form eligible as a first-time home buyer. And if they're not, A, B, or C, let's check it out and see if D is. This property is in a Baltimore City neighborhood. It's in a sustainable community. It's in a priority funding. It's in a municipal boundary, a U.S. congressional district, a Maryland legislative district. And look, yay, it's in a targeted area. It has to say T for targeted area. And when you click on it, it'll say yes. We tell the lenders to pull this mapper on every single file and put it in the file because the lender needs to refer to the property for other things as well. If I hit the back arrow, I'll put an address in here just so you can see the difference. This property address, if I click on this one, again, pay no attention to the right-hand side of the map. It's pretty, it's got a little pin, but underneath this address is in a priority funding area. It's in a U.S. congressional district, and it's also in a Maryland legislative district. You don't see on here T for targeted, do you? No. So this borrower, if they were purchasing this property, they are not purchasing a property in a targeted area. So if they're not truly meeting A, B, or C, they're not meeting D either. So they're not considered a first-time home buyer according to our eligibility guidelines. So you could still do the loan, but you'd have to go to the right-hand side of the rate sheet. Does that help a little?
Yes.
Perfect.
It's great.
Okay. Also give you another little hint too. If you're an agent and you're talking to a borrower and they're buying a property that's new construction, the lender has to pull this mapper on every single file regardless, okay, because they need it for other things. But all new construction, let's say you have a borrower that meets all the guidelines, hands down, they're meeting all of them. and they're buying new construction, the property has to show up on this mapper as being in a priority funding area. So what's the difference? P for priority funding, tell yourself it's new build, new construction, new development, has to be in a priority funding area. Targeted areas are to help your borrower become a first-time home buyer, according to our first-time home buyer guidelines. Targeted areas are where we will allow you to be considered a first-time home buyer, because targeted areas are areas where we want to help revitalize that community to promote home ownership. So this mapper is a great tool for the lender, but again, it's a public website, so anybody can come on here and use it. So again, to recap, in order to be considered a first-time home buyer, you would ask yourself these questions and ask the borrower. Are you a typical first-time home buyer that's never owned a home? Perfect, yay. Or have you not been on a deed anywhere in the world in the last 3 years? Or are you a veteran that's using your VA entitlement with us for the very first time? Or are you purchasing a property that shows up on this mapper as a targeted area? And if your borrower meets one of those guidelines, they are considered a first-time home buyer, and you can stay on the left-hand side of the rate sheet to select a product for the borrower. All right. The second eligibility guideline is when you're talking to your client, you're going to, obviously you guys to ask them, what kind of house you're looking for, who's going to be living in the house. So you know what kind of properties you're going to show them. Well, you're going to want to ask who's going to be on the loan, or maybe somebody's not going to be on the loan, but they want to be on title. But you also have to ask who's going to live in the home. Because when the lender gets the loan file, they're going to look at the income that they're using to qualify based off of affordability, right? But when you do the Maryland Mortgage Program, our second eligibility guideline is we have household income limits. And the borrowers have to be able to tell you who's going to be on the loan, who's going to be on the title, who's going to live in the home. And if they tell you that they have grandma living in the home with them, the lender's going to ask for income verification for grandma, whether it be Social Security or SSI or anything, because look at this income and purchase price limit. There's a chart. The lender comes in here, they open up this chart, and you'll see that our household income limits are very generous. This is not for somebody who is low to moderate income. When you look at this chart, you'll see, okay, if I'm buying in Anne Arundel County, if I have 1 to 2 people in the household size, not on the loan, household, everybody. If the property was in a non-targeted area, you're capped at a household income limit of $117,500. But if the property showed up on the mapper as being in a targeted area, and see, that's why I said the lender always has to do the mapper because they use it for other things, they could go up to $141,000. If you had 3 or more people in the house in Anne Arundel County for non-targeted, you could go up to $135,000, $125,000, or for targeted, $164,500. You'll notice Baltimore City's all targeted. So that's why there's only one set of income limits that you're capped at. Baltimore County has 2 different sets of incomes, non-targeted and targeted. And it's all through the entire state of Maryland. And look at Frederick County. Look how high these limits are. They're the same as Montgomery County and Prince George's County. So our household income limits are not for low to moderate income. The second item that I'm trying to see if how I can get out of this. It's just not going to let me. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's see. Okay. I'm just kind of skipping around here. Sorry. There's that yellow box again, you guys. All right. All right. So then we went over the second guideline. The third guideline, there's no bullet here, but it's assets. Generally, borrowers come to us because they don't have a lot of money. So our asset guidelines are that you can't have more than 20% of the sales price of liquid assets. That's checking, savings, CD, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, a gift of equity, proceeds from the sale of a home. Again, the lender is going to go over this in more detail with your borrower. The fourth eligibility guideline is home buyer education. All of your borrowers, not household members, but all of your borrowers have to take home buyer education. Here's a link where you could show the borrowers for HUD-approved housing counseling agencies or the National Industry Standard housing counseling agencies. They could do it in a classroom setting. I'm sure they might be doing that now, or they might still be doing them virtually. Or your borrowers could have always done this, but now we definitely pointed out that the borrowers could do their home buyer education online in their pajamas with a cup of coffee. We don't regulate the housing counseling agencies, whether you do it through an agency or online. Some of them are free, some of them charge. You are required to have the borrowers, not household members, take home buyer education. When they take the education, they earn a certificate. The certificate has to have the borrower's names on it. So if it's husband, wife, they both got to be on the certificate or have two different certificates of completion. And the certificates are valid for 1 year. So you have to make sure it hasn't expired. The fifth and the sixth eligibility guideline, again, is more for the lender to gear to, but I'll share it with you because I'm sure some of you are very seasoned in this industry, is our credit score and our DTI. Our DTI standard is at a 45 and the credit score is at 640. So we don't go below 640. Or we allow you to go up to a 50% debt to income ratio, but your credit score has to be 680 or higher. So I went over the 6 guidelines. So when you're looking at this rate sheet, if your borrower meets first-time home buyer, household income, assets, home buyer education, DTI, and credit score, then you could offer them one of these products that are found on our rate sheet. And that's how you determine if you're on the left-hand side as a first-time home buyer, or if you're not a first-time home buyer, you would then still be able to offer them this product, but it's only these 3 products and it's on the flex side. Go ahead, Cal.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Okay, so if we know that somebody is able to get a product on that spreadsheet and we get it daily from what you said, if we sign up, is there anything at all that says, okay, because they signed up for the mortgage program on the flex sheet and what it says on that day, I heard you say earlier, it can change, right? This sheet that we're looking at right now can change.
Yes.
Does it lock them in, or is there a certain amount of time that they have to lock in so that if the rates were to go up again, it wouldn't affect them? Could you address that?
No. So, and that's a good question. And just so LaToya hears too, you guys are very seasoned. So I'm going to be probably discussing things with you that relatively a new agent, I probably wouldn't be talking about. So I don't want her to be like, why is she talking about all this stuff? But you ask great questions, so I'm going to answer. When you pass the borrower over to the lender again is going to ask all these questions. Who's on the loan? Who's living in the home? Let me have pull your credit, income, assets, verification of employment, etc. Do the home buyer education class. When the lender has their loan file and their underwriter has verified that the borrower meets FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional guidelines, and the underwriter said, okay, cool, everything's fine. And then the loan officer says, we also want to do a Maryland Mortgage Program product. So I want to put that up front with you. So, you're looking at Mr. and Mrs. Jones are, wanting to use a Maryland Mortgage Program product. Then that underwriter or processor, both, they look to make sure the borrower meets our 6 guidelines. When the processor puts together a Maryland Mortgage Program loan file, there's a file for the first mortgage. These are the rates for the first mortgage. So if you were on the first time Advantage Direct side, this is the Fannie rate. This is the Freddie, Fannie and Freddie, and then government is FHA, VA, USDA. They're going to say, okay, we want to do the first time Advantage Direct. We're doing a conventional or we're doing a government. This rate essentially is floating. You're not locking it in. The lender is not supposed to, and that's a conversation you could have with them, but technically they're not supposed to lock it in, which we call a reservation, until that loan file is ready to come to us. So what that means is the processor has to put together a Maryland Mortgage Program loan file for their first mortgage. For the second mortgage, it's paperwork. They put it together, they submit it to their underwriter checks and makes sure, yes, it's meeting our 6 guidelines. Yes, you pulled the right paperwork, dotted the I's and crossed the T's. The loan file is now ready to come to the Maryland Mortgage Program for review. In order to submit a file to us, you have to do this, what we call a reservation. You guys know it as locking it in. A reservation is reserving what product you wanted, what side of the rate sheet you're on, what product you want, and you're locking in the rate. And then the lender uploads the file to us. So theoretically, you're floating this rate until the loan file is ready to come to us. But in this market, I will say that there are some lenders that do lock the loan in sooner than before they're sending it to us. I would also tell lenders too, I was a loan officer for years, so if you know that you're right on the cusp, I would probably be ultra conservative and maybe even quote them or try to qualify them at 0.25% higher. So that way, if the rates did fluctuate and they went up, your borrower still qualifies.
Thank you. That was the point that I was looking at, because all of a sudden now they don't qualify.
Yep.
But you know why this is a beautiful presentation here is because you're giving us the business acumen to say to the lender, and by the way, I don't need them squeaking through. I need you to make sure they can get another crumb if they have to, because the rates could change.
Yep. Yep.
In this program. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So when you're going through those 6 eligibility guidelines, which somebody just asked me to, if you email me, I can send you a little cheat sheet that I wrote that goes over the 6 guidelines. 1 is, are you a first-time home buyer or not? 2 is, we have household income limits. 3, we have asset guidelines. 4, we have home buyer education. 5 is our DTI, debt to income ratio, and 6 is our credit score. And one thing I'll share with you too is when I do trainings with agents, I tell them, you need to interview your loan officer. If you feel that this is a product that you think is just going to be huge for you to have in your back pocket with your clients, you want to make sure that the lender, not only your LO, but your processor and underwriter that you're turning this loan file over to you, is comfortable with doing the Maryland Mortgage Program. And that's what, you know, Latoya and Frank and I, we do all day and every day, is we're trying to make sure that everyone is as educated as possible and that we are resources for them. I get questions all day. Like when I finish my trainings, I'm on my phone for the rest of the day returning emails. Hey, Catherine, I got a question. When we finish this training, I'll be very honored if you remember my name, but you're not going to remember everything that I talked about. It's impossible. You guys have so many different programs. You not only have the state, but you have city and county programs that you could look at that you can use along with our product. We use the word stacking. So definitely make sure your borrower's tapping into state money, but look in the city and the county where you're buying. And if your borrower would like to also take the time to see if they qualify for money in the city and the county, you can get that money from them and money from us, bring it all to closing, and your borrower is going to have more money to work with. All right. So Lindsay, I went over the 6 guidelines really quick, but if you need me to, I put my email address up top. I can certainly send you that cheat sheet. So
is that cheat sheet you mentioned on your website already?
No, it's a cheat sheet that I wrote up. So because again, I'm old school. I'm like, just cut to the chase. Tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, I don't want to read a whole PowerPoint, but they are in the PowerPoint, but I can send you the cheat sheet. So now that we went over the 6 guidelines, you then would sit there and figure out, what is the bang for the buck for my borrower? What product do they need? The first time advantage is for a first time home buyer. The flex is for somebody who's not. So now you figure out what side of the rate sheet you're on. On the left-hand side, the rates are lower, but there is a little more paperwork because they're having to certify that they are a first time home buyer. As I mentioned, the flex side gives them the flexibility. So it's a little bit of a higher rate. We don't have as many products currently right now because of how the rates are performing, but they're skinnier files. They're a lot easier to get through because there's hardly any paperwork because you're not a first-time home buyer. You just can't own anything anywhere in the world at the time of closing, no matter what loan you're doing. The first-time Advantage Direct and the Flex Direct, these are the lowest rates that we have on our rate sheet. And the word on the street is that right now, the Maryland Mortgage Program, CDA, we are hands down the product to go to because we don't charge any points. The Maryland Mortgage Program doesn't charge any fees. You will never see a disclosure that says a CDA or MMP fee. So the lenders are saying, man, Kath, you're at 6.5%. My borrower doesn't need any money. See where it says no MMP DPA? What that means is no Maryland Mortgage Program down payment assistance. This would be for a borrower. It might sound silly to you, but this would be for a borrower who meets all of our guidelines. These are the rates for the first mortgage. So maybe this is the best rate that the lender can give them. And they don't need any down payment assistance from us. So there's no second lien. This is just the rate for the first. You still have to meet all our guidelines and follow our terms and conditions, but you're getting the lowest rate and there's no points. Maybe you guys negotiated enough seller help. Maybe they saved money. Maybe they got a gift. Maybe you got money from a city or county program and this borrower's got enough money. They're like, listen, I'd rather have the lowest rate on the rate sheet and I don't need no Maryland Mortgage Program down payment assistance. The next set of products are called the First Time Advantage 6000 or the Flex 6000. And I'm going to lump these two together because look at the $6,000 rates and then look at the First Time Advantage 3% loan rate. They're exactly the same. Here's the difference. These are the rates for the first mortgage. Fannie or Freddie conventional, government is FHA, VA, USDA. This is the rate for the first mortgage. There is a second mortgage. There is no interest rate for the second mortgage. It's kind of like a silent lien. It's recorded as a true lien. You don't have to make payments on it. There's no interest on it, but it sits there until you sell or refi and you have to pay it back. It's not forgiven. It's not deferred. It doesn't magically go away. We don't have any more grants anymore. No money's free. You would get $6,000 to help you with your down payment or closing cost at this rate. But at the same exact rate, same guidelines, this one comes with down payment assistance as a second loan that's up to 3%. It's 3% of your total first mortgage. So if you had your total first mortgage times 3%, round down, no change. If that gave your borrower more than $6,000, heck, do the 3%. Same guidelines, same rates, give them where they get more money, either 3% of the total first mortgage, round down, no change, or $6,000. Okay. The next product is 4% of the total first mortgage, round down, no change. Again, this money is recorded as a second lien. There's no interest rate, there's no monthly payments, but you got to pay it back when you sell or refi. We don't like to subordinate unless there's a real serious problem. And again, you got to pay it back. And then there's the 5%. And there's the rate. And then, are you ready for this? 6%. This money can be used for down payment and or closing costs. So if you were doing the 5 or the 6%, you could take 3 towards down payment and the other 3 towards closing costs. It's huge. That's filling the gap for your borrower. I will tell you, I bring to the lender's attention that this Home Start product is for somebody that their borrower's qualifying income does not exceed 50% AMI. What does that mean? I'm going to hit the back arrow. I'm going to hit it again. Any product that I'm showing you on my rate sheet, you come here at all these little black dots. This is a little magical area. And you come here, it's called collateral and fact sheets. Any product that I'm talking to you about, they're all fixed 30. Here's all the First Time Advantage. There's the Flex, and I'm going to talk to you about the specialty. Let's look at this First Time Advantage Home Start that's 6%. You can only, your loan officer can only offer this to a borrower if they meet all of our guidelines and the qualifying income cannot exceed the 50% AMI. So if you're in Baltimore County and you've got one borrower for, that you're using their income to qualify, you could have other people in the household, but the income that you're using to qualify, if it doesn't exceed 5850, woo, you can offer them that 6% Home Start. If their qualifying income exceeds this, you can't. And the lender will definitely make sure. Calvert County, those income limits are at $70,250. Montgomery, Prince George's County, they're higher. So you have to, the lender definitely has to look at this chart to see if they can offer them the home start 6%. They're giving you the most amount of money for down payment, but it's because you are fitting into the lower area median income at 50%. But this is huge. This could be a city, a county, a state worker. It could be a teacher. It could be a police officer, a fire. I mean, there's a lot of people that's a very standard income that they could just be using to qualify. It's not household. Now I'm going to go back to the rate sheet. Those are all the standard products for the Maryland Mortgage Program. First time advantage side, I went through all of these. The flex side, they're the same, they're just on the right. Now I'm going to go over the specialty products. On the left-hand side, under the first time advantage, there is a product that is specifically geared to somebody that's purchasing in Montgomery County. You still have to meet the same 6 guidelines. First-time home buyer, can't exceed household income, can't exceed the assets, home buyer education, DTI, and credit score. But Montgomery County said, we're going to give you some money towards this product. It's not a Montgomery County HOC, it's a Maryland mortgage program. This can go away. Money can run out for this one. It's for Fannie, Freddie, conventional, or government is FHA via USDA. Look at the rate. It's low. It's like the 6%. Okay. So this is for somebody purchasing in Montgomery County. You got to be a first-time home buyer, but it gives them more down payment assistance. It includes the down payment assistance loan up to 40% of the household income. It's capped at a maximum of $25,000. That's huge. That down payment assistance is recorded as a lien, just like all the other ones. No interest rate, no monthly payments. They got to pay it back when they sell or refi. If you're doing a loan in Montgomery County, hands down, that's the one. Montgomery County. Definitely make sure your lender is keeping an eye out for how many reservations are left. We do our products based off of fiscal year. So all of our money gets launched off of July 1st. All new programs you'll see come out, changes come out. Everything is July 1st. We're not off calendar year January. So in July, some of these programs came out. The Montgomery County came out again. We've done it, gosh, I think 4 or 5, 6 times now. Great product. Let me check the chat box. Can you please repeat? Okay, you got them. Got it, I heard them. Okay, perfect, okay. Okay, the Maryland Smart Buy. How many of you, and I know there's a lot of people on here, but has anybody not heard of the Maryland Smart Buy?
I've never heard of it.
Okay. Well, if I were sitting in front of you and you had a seatbelt in your chair, I'd tell you to fasten it because this one is amazing. I'm a mother. I have a daughter. She went to college. I don't know. Some people maybe don't have student loan debt, but I did, and my daughter does. You know, it's unfortunate. We want our kids to go to college, but college is very expensive. If you have somebody that comes to you and says, listen, I would like to buy a home, and I've heard about this Maryland mortgage program, and I think I might qualify for the program, and I'd like to be able to get money to help me with down payment and closing costs. The Maryland Smart Buy actually was a Governor Hogan's initiative, and it went on for the first 4 years, and it was very different back then, and it's even made changes since this past July. And we've definitely opened up the door on this product. I can't promise that it's going to be around after Hogan leaves administration, but I haven't heard that it's leaving because we've had other states reach out to us and say, other housing finance agencies throughout the country have reached out to the state of Maryland Department of Housing and said, what are y'all doing? How are you doing this? This is great. You have to be a first-time home buyer. You have to have at least $1,000 of student loan debt. The debt has to be in your name for your education. So Parent Plus loans don't work. I have a Parent Plus. It's in my name, but it wasn't for my education. But my daughter, it's in her name and it was for her education. She owes $37,000 of student loan debt. This is a conventional product only, a Fannie or Freddie. It's a 97% LTV. It's a true 97% conventional. You have to meet our first-time home buyer, our household income, our assets, our home buyer education, our DTI, but our credit score on this one is different. You have to have a credit score of 720 or higher. So you could go up to a 50% DTI, but your credit score has to be at 720 or higher. And if you meet those guidelines, you could help your borrower purchase a home. You could select this $6,000 for down payment assistance, and this would be your rate, Fannie or Freddie. Or you could pick the 4% down payment assistance and have this be your rate, Fannie or Freddie. Or if your borrower's qualifying income was at or below that 50% AMI chart that I just showed you, you could offer them 6%, and this would be the rate. And look, the rate's lower, right? Here's the deal. The Maryland Smart Buy, again, you got to meet all the 6 guidelines, but the credit score is 720. You have a first mortgage. You have a second mortgage. You pick which one you want. Here's where all the magic happens. Let's say I had 2 borrowers, John and Tabitha. John says, I have student loan debt and all of my student loan debt equals, I don't know, $40,000. Tabitha, his wife or his girlfriend or friend or whatever, is also on the loan buying this house with John, and all of her student loan debt equals like $80,000. You're going to have a conversation with the loan officer and say, listen, I'm just letting you know, I took this class and I'm a little more well-versed on these programs, and I think my borrower would be a good fit for the Maryland Smart Buy. You're going to give them a loan, you're going to give them down payment assistance, and you're going to help them pay off their student loan debt. Woo! Amazing. Here's the deal. You got your first mortgage, you got your second mortgage. You're going to pick one of the borrowers, John or Tabitha. John owes $40,000, Tabitha owes $80,000. The third component to this loan product is an unsecured promissory note. It is not recorded as a third lien. It used to be, but it's not anymore. You're going to take 15%, that's 15% of the purchase price, up to a maximum of $50,000. And you're going to pick one of them, John or Tabitha. So let's say we pick John. And we're going to pay off all of his student loan debt. We're going to put it in the form of an unsecured promissory note. The lender doesn't have to count John's student loan debt because we paid it off. So he doesn't have to count that in the DTI. If John and Tabitha stay in this product for 5 years, this one has a 5-year rule. After 5 years, poof, that student loan debt that we paid off for John is forgiven. It's in the form of an unsecured promissory note. It's not a lien. It doesn't affect your LTV. You don't count a student loan debt in the DTI. Gives them more purchasing power. If he were to decide that he wanted to, like, let's say John and Tabitha decide they wanted to refi, get a lower rate, or they were selling the house, and they did it before the 5 years is up, you got to pay that money back. That unsecured promissory note is a 5-year. So if you leave, sell, or refi before the 5 years, you have to pay that unsecured promissory note back. It's 20% deferred each year. Now, let's say we don't pick John. Let's say you guys say, well, let's pick Tabitha. Tabitha owes $80,000 of student loan debt. Here's a catch. Whoever you pick, we're going to take 15% of the purchase price up to the max of $50,000, and we're going to pay off that student loan debt, put it in the form of an unsecured promissory note. But Tabitha owes $80,000. That's not going to pay off all of her student loan debt. So if you pick Tabitha, Tabitha has to be prepared to either come to closing with proof that she paid off the rest of her student loan debt, or she has to do it at closing. Whoever you pick, when they walk away from that closing table, they can't have any student loan debt remaining. So if you pick Tabitha, all of Tabitha's have to be paid off. John can still have his because we didn't pick him. We don't care how Tabitha pays off the excess. She could get a gift. She could take money out of her 401. Heck, we've even had loan officers call us and say, do you care if we go and have the borrower go get a loan? No, you have to count that payment in the DTI. But it's as long as her student loan debt is paid off when she walks away from the closing table, perfect. All right, let's look at this chat box. Let's see. Spouses might start boxing. Okay, you're funny. Yeah, it's an amazing product. Amazing product. That Maryland Smart Buy, if I were talking to a client and I knew they had student loan debt, I'd say, listen, let's see if you qualify for the Maryland Mortgage Program, and we could get you into a loan, get you down payment assistance, pick which one we want that you qualify for, and let's help you pay off some of your student loan debt. But again, that credit score is 720 or higher, and whoever you pick, all of that person's student loan debt has to be paid off when they walk away from the closing table. You're going to want to make sure that the lender that you're working with is selected to offer the Maryland Smart Buy. Not all of our lenders selected to offer it. And here's why, because again, remember I told you before that we don't wire any money to the closing, the lender does. So you got a lender that's wiring money for the first mortgage, the second mortgage, and the student loan portion. And they don't get that paid back to them until the loan gets purchased by the final investor, which is US Bank. And usually that only takes 60 days from the date of reservation. They technically have up to 75 days to sell the loan and have it purchased, but usually it's a 60-day from the date they lock it in to 75 days, and then they'll get reimbursed. Yes, first-time home buyers only. It's on the left-hand side of the rate sheet. So all of these, you can't be on a deed anywhere in the world at the time of this closing. You figure out if you're a first-time home buyer or not, and these are all the first-time home buyer products. And if you got a borrower that's got student loan debt, I would definitely talk to the lender and see if this is a product that's going to work for them. And if it's not, that's okay. Then come on up here and figure out which other product is going to give them, down payment assistance. It's great. So Smart Buy for new construction would have to be in a preferred, it's actually called priority funding area. Yeah, so any loan you're doing with the Maryland Mortgage Program, if it's new construction, your lender knows that they have to pull that mapper, and all new construction has to show up on that mapper. If it doesn't, sometimes the lender will reach out to the builder and verify, have you filed with the Department of Planning to be considered to be zoned in a priority funding, but the mapper has to show it. So you can check with the builder to make sure that's in a PFA. That's the acronym that they use. You still have to meet all of our guidelines, but yes, new construction has to show up on the mapper as a priority funding. And you can use new construction for any of our properties, any of our programs. The last product I want to talk to you about, well, I have two, but the last one on this side is called the Maryland Home Ability. This only has a very limited amount of funds. Only a gold and silver lender can offer it. I'll show you the lender list in a moment. This is for somebody that is a first-time home buyer, because obviously it's on the left-hand side of the rate sheet. You have to meet all of our eligibility guidelines. There are special income limits that apply, and it's for somebody who is disabled or caring for a disabled family member. And again, I definitely want to refer you to work directly with your lender to make sure that they are verifying that the borrower meets all of our 6 guidelines, what product is the bang for the buck for your client, and always making sure that the lender that you're working with is comfortable with using the Maryland Mortgage Program product, not just the LO, but the processor and underwriter, because you want to get this thing submitted and done and approved like quick. You don't want to be having to go back and forth with conditions if a lender's not comfortable. The other product on here is our conventional product. It's on the right-hand side as a flex. I know I'm being recorded, so I probably shouldn't say this, but the rate is, but this product was designed back in 2009 and 2010 when I first came to this agency, because the foreclosure crisis was huge. So we had borrowers that had down payment assistance loan products with them, and they were underwater. So if you have a borrower that has any of these products with us, and they have down payment assistance, which is recorded as a second lien, and it behooves them to sell the house or refinance the house, but this is more for refis, and they're not in a position to pay off that second lien, if they refinanced out of us into us, we will take that existing Maryland mortgage program down payment assistance and we would subordinate the lien. All right. Any of the products that I just discussed with you, if you hit the back arrow and you come to all these little black dots and you come here to the collateral and fact sheets, as I mentioned, all of our products are standard fixed 30. These are all the first time advantage products for first time home buyers. These are all the flex products for somebody who's not meeting our first time home buyer guideline. These are the specialty programs that we just went over. You can click on it. It's a great fact sheet, tells you all about it. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to our single family email address under here, under the CDA US Bank contacts. Here's the single family right there. Or what I would do is I would come up into the search box and I would type find a lender. I would click on the first find the lender. I would scroll down here, and here is a printable list of all of our approved lenders. And I kind of take ownership of them because I have been here for 14 years. So these are all my lenders and they're all amazing. They all are. But our gold performing lenders, the reason why they're gold is because they do 30 plus loans with us a quarter. They do these all day and every day. I will tell you that the first, these gold lenders, all of them offer Smart Buy with the exception of Fairway Independent, but they are in the process of applying for it. So these are all our gold top performing lenders. So if you have a loan officer you're dealing with here, perfect. These are our silver lenders, 15 plus loans a quarter. They all offer the Maryland Smart Buy. These are all our silver. These are all our bronze. And again, you'll notice not all of them offer the Smart Buy, so be careful. And then these are a list of all of our other active lenders, and they're all amazing. They all are. So if you have a relationship with any of these lenders, I would make sure that they're comfortable with doing the Maryland mortgage program. And if they're not, be like, well, you know what? I got a new best friend. Her name is Catherine Kramer Dale. And I want you to reach out and get some training. Because if you want my business, I would like to be able to offer this Maryland mortgage program product if I think it's a good fit for the borrower. And I want to make sure that you guys could do this with your eyes closed. The idea of it is they are, as again, I'll mention, I can't quote what their turnaround time is for their processing and their underwriting based off FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional guidelines, Fannie and Freddie. But once they have determined that they're using a Maryland mortgage program, there are forms that they have to put together, a first mortgage file, and the second is the down payment assistance. We don't ask for a lot. Like, we're just checking, like, where's the home buyer education certificate? We only ask for the first page of the credit report. We're not underwriting the loan. We just look to see, you met our credit score guideline. Okay. Here's the home buyer education certificate. Okay. You know, we kind of, I don't want to call it a streamline because then I'm putting myself in that box, but it's a very slim file, and it's asking for information so we can verify that the borrower is meeting our 6 eligibility guidelines. And it only takes us 24 to 48 hours to review and decision. If a lender submits a loan to us and it's incomplete, or we're questioning how they calculated the household income, or we're questioning a deposit that we see on 1 month of a bank statement, we have to ask, what's this $500 deposit? We're only getting 1 month of a bank statement. So we want to make sure, is it not another source of income? Maybe the borrower forgot to tell them that they had a part-time job, but because, you know, they maybe didn't even need it to qualify. But with the Maryland mortgage program, we use all sources of household income. So like, again, if you have somebody who's 18 years or older living in your home, If they're a full-time college student, we don't count their income. But if they're not a full-time student, so we would ask for, verification of registry. But if they're not a full-time student and Johnny's 20 and he works at Home Depot, and you tell us Johnny's going to be living in this house, we're going to ask for the same income verification from Johnny as we would from the mom and dad. And we would take all the household income to make sure you're not exceeding our income limits. It's 11:22. I still want to talk about some other things on here. When you're on our website and you are back at home, I just kind of want to re-cruise. This is what the home page looks like. You click on Professional Portal. You scroll down, there's that yellow box to sign up. And then here you come to this page right here where the man is the glasses, and here's the window to our brain. A lot of this information I didn't go over with you because it's pertaining to the lender for them to determine the borrower's eligibility, putting the file together. On the top of this page, I do want to point out marketing tools. We have kits. Once LaToya gets out there, which I would imagine would be soon, you can always order kits up here. You can order up to 100 of these kits. Hopefully most of you, we saw at GBBR fair, but we gave kits out, but you can order up to 100 of them. You can have them sent to your house. You can have them sent to a faith-based community, home buyer workshop, sent to a builder. We'll do presentations for you with the lender. Like Frank and I will do presentations. If you have a relationship with one of our lenders, we will do the presentation for the lender inside your house with the agents that he or she has a relationship with. We will do presentations if a lender asks us to come to a builder community and promote the lender with the builder. And of course, agents are there as well. So we're all holding hands singing Kumbaya, educating each other about what our roles are, how we're going to make this a successful transaction for the client, and making sure we're tapping into all the funds that are available in the state of Maryland, as well as within the city or the county. I don't do, nor does LaToya do, any home buyer workshops. We have a separate division that strictly does presentations. If you want to do a home buyer workshop, you could send an email to the single family and say you'd like to be connected with who you reach out to ask for a home buyer. LaToya is going to be doing trainings for all of the board of realtors for CE classes to make sure that you guys are getting the best information about the Maryland Mortgage Program. And on top of it, hopefully getting to be able to obtain your CE credits. So this is a good tool. We have social media. So you can definitely share Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Here are some images that you can use. You can click on them and add them to anything. You can't change the core information, but you can add yours. We also have the program fact sheets, which again are those collateral and fact sheets that we saw. So you could print any of them if you were trying to promote the Smart Buy, going to any local colleges or universities or anywhere. Under training, I'll be very honest with you. The presentation that I sent to Nakia is the most updated presentation. I let my manager know that these presentations here are old. They need to be updated. I wish she would just take them off until they're ready to be updated. But again, as soon as we update them, then something else comes out and then we have to update them again. So, but those are the presentations as well. I don't know. Is there anything I missed? Because you guys are the experts. Is there anything I didn't answer, or is there anything that you guys would like to ask?
Hi, Catherine. I had a question in chat, and I was just asking do the borrowers, I know back in the day, I've been in for 22 years, so back in the day, borrowers had to be in person to get that certificate.
No, so we always offered online. There was a limited amount of online classes, I believe, because again, I've been here for a long time too, but no, you always could offer them online. The borrower could take the class in pajamas with a cup of coffee. But I don't think it really came to everyone's mind until the pandemic hit, because then obviously it was a necessity. And we don't regulate any of the housing counseling agencies or the online classes. So some of them are free, some of them charge. Some of them may have you come back and do like a one-on-one face-to-face budget or whatever. We just look to make sure that they earn their certificate, that it's HUD approved, meeting, our guidelines, agency guidelines, and that the certificate hasn't expired. But yeah, you could do it in a classroom setting or online.
Okay, and my last question is, I'm president-elect for the Women's Council of Realtors Anne Arundel Network, and we're putting our 2023 calendar together right now. You mentioned CE. Is that available now?
Yeah, so Latoya is going to be doing that. What her goal is she's reaching out, and I did introduce her to some ladies at the GBBR fair. So I know Latoya has some contacts there, but Latoya, you definitely want to put your email in the chat box if you can. Or you can certainly reach out to me and I can connect you with her. But yes, Latoya will be doing all of the presentations for CE credits with Women's Council, any board of associations. She would be delighted to. Yep.
Thank you. We need her now.
Okay. You hear that, Latoya?
Yeah, I sent her a private message right here.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect. So again, I did send the PowerPoint to Nakia, and it's a great tool, but I personally feel that it's far more beneficial than me rather reading it line by line, flipping a page, is to just show you how to get in and navigate the website. It's a great tool. It's very user-friendly. And then don't ever hesitate, reach out. We value the relationship that we have with all of the agents out there. We wouldn't be able to offer these programs if we didn't have you guys, sharing the knowledge with the borrowers, letting them know that there's options out there to help them, especially in this challenging market. Anything else, Nakia? Did I miss anything? Is there anything I need to?
No, but I heard a rumor that we want you back. Maybe
I would be delighted.
Things. I did make the PowerPoint a PDF. I put it in the Dropbox, and it's in the meeting chat. If everybody goes to the chat, you will get the download of that PowerPoint. It'll just scroll through as a PDF, which is easy for you to use and share. If you need to share with that Dropbox link, that makes it faster and less, and it's emailable. The presentation is pretty large, so you can't just email that out all the time.
Like 52 pages, I think.
Yeah, it's good. It's intense. It's enough information. If we have any team leaders or mentors on the call, I would definitely go through this with your team. Encourage them to use the website. Like Keely, I was Women's Council president in 2019. And we had days where we had Maryland Mortgage Program come in, or CDA come in to present the Maryland Mortgage Program within some of our CE series. So we've been sharing this program, utilizing it. I've been stressing the importance of knowing this information and using this website. I mean, the social media, if you struggle with social media content, like a lot of the agents that I coach, they do. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 images right here. Get them in Canva, add your information to it, share it on social media. There's some content. There's content throughout this entire website. I mean, from the education standpoint to information standpoint, resource standpoint, there is so much information that you can use. If you struggle with social media content, struggle no longer. Here you are. I mean, the page just simply says marketing tools. I get that every day. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Here you go. Here's your marketing for the month. Use this for the month of November. See how it works out. Check your income in January and February, and you will see how it has worked out. Okay. But if you're selling in Maryland, use the Maryland Mortgage Program and everything that they have to offer there. And thanks again, Latoya, for making that phone call and reaching out. All cold calls are not bad calls. So that was a great call. You talked 20 or maybe 18, 19 real estate agents today. Enhance their business. So that one phone call, you can track the results of that one phone call through us appearing here, and hopefully you'll see our names. Partnered with lenders whose buyers have these Maryland Mortgage Program products in use. I think I see a hand. We have a question or comment from Audra Watkins.
That's me. I wanted to tell Latoya that I'm glad she's on here because we had a call scheduled on November 22nd. We were trying to do it in the evening. So we can actually cancel that because I see most of the mentees are on this call. But I'll reach back out to you.
Got it. Thank you for letting me know. That's perfect. Okay.
Thank you, Audra. Anybody else have anything they want to share, ask questions, your key takeaway today? Anything you are going to hone in on or start using as a marketing tool? The floor is open. And I'm going to stop recording while we wait for somebody to step up just in case.